How to read all numbers in English. Do you feel stress or you panic when you see numbers like these? If so, this video is for you. Hello and welcome to English Speaking 360. Here's what we're going to study today. Confusing numbers, big numbers, decimals, ordinal numbers, fractions, dates and years, addresses, and finally phone numbers. And of course, as usual in my videos, you're going to get a review quiz at the end, so don't miss it. Some numbers are really confusing. For example, these two. What is the first one? 12. How about the second one? 20 or 20. How about these two? 13 and 30, or 30, of course. There is a simple trick to help you. Listen for the stress. Here we go. Let me show you this. Okay. This. How about this and that? Okay. Now, maybe you don't understand yet, but here's the key. The stress is on the bigger number. You see the first one? You have 1 and 3. 3 is bigger than 1, so the stress is on the second part of the word. 13. What about the other one? You have 3 and 0, so the stress will be on the first part of the word, 30. There you go, now you have it. So let's try again to see if you understand stress. How about these two? The first one, 14, 40, or 40. 15, 50, 16, 60, 17, 70, or 70, 18, 80, or 80, 19, and 90 or 90. There you have it. You see, every time you have a bigger number, the stress is on the first syllable. If you have a smaller number with teen, the stress is on the second syllable. Let's move on to reading big numbers. Are you stressed? Probably yes. Can you read this number? It's not so easy, is it? Now, let's try something different. Can you read this number? Of course you can. It's 12. Good. How about this one? 150. Okay. This one. 214. Good. And finally, the last one. 792. Good. Now let's try again with the big number. Here's a trick for you. Put a word in each space. Aha! You see the spaces right here? Every time you have a space or a comma, put a word there. For example, in this case, you will put billion, million, and thousand. These are the words that you need to remember. So now you can read it easily. First one, 12 billion, 150 million, 214,792. And that's it. You were able to read it. Let's test your ability to read big numbers. What is this number right here? Can you read it? Remember, use the words in the spaces. So let's go together. 1 billion, 234 million, 567,890. What about this number? No help this time. Ha ha ha. Let's go. You can do it. 98 billion. 765 million, 432,100. Great. Big numbers can be hard to read, so here's what people do. Okay, so we already know this number. It is 7,500,000. But this is difficult for many people, even for native speakers. So many people will say 7.5 million. It's a good way to make it easier to say. But you have to use this style only for millions and billions, and of course trillions only, but not for thousands. Well done! Now let's try something easier. What is a decimal? A decimal is a number with a period in it. For example, this number right here, it has a period, so it is a decimal number. But how do you read decimals? You have to be aware that we use decimals for percentage and also for money. So for example, the first one, you would say 16.75%. Point. We say point for the decimal. But for money, we don't say point. For money, we would say $16.75. And is the period. But very often, we remove the and we say $16.75. And even simpler than that, we could say $16.75. But of course, $16.75 is always right. Talking about money can sometimes be tricky. For example, this number. So you would say $4.99. Okay, but there's another way to say it. You can say $4.99. How about this number? Of course, the easy way is $499. But there is one more way to say it. Can you guess? It's $4.99 also. So you're like, what? $4.99 is $4.99 and $499 is $4.99 too? Yes. And maybe you wonder how to know the difference. Well, it depends on context, of course. So if you say, hey, I bought a coffee for $4.99, of course it's $4.99. But if you say, I bought a new laptop for $4.99, it's going to be $499. Easy peasy. Let's move on to ordinal numbers. What is an ordinal number? It's a number within an order. For example, first and fourth. You've seen these numbers before with the small letters at a higher level right behind each number. We use these numbers when we talk about dates and when we talk about sports very often. Here are the ones that you should know. Let's go together. How do you say this one? You probably know first. How about this one? Second. Next one? Third. Good. And now, we go into the easy part. This one is fourth. 4 plus th. So first, second, and third are the only special cases. After that, it's all with th. So next one, how do you say it? Maybe you think it's fifth, but fifth is not a word. We say fifth. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. Good job. Now, how about this one? It follows the same pattern. It's not 10 first, it's 11th. This one, 12th. So you see once again, 12, the VE changes to an F, 12th. And 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and so on. That's good. Now, how about this one? 20 becomes 20th or 20th, but 20th is much easier to say in my opinion. Watch out here because we have 20 plus number 1, so it becomes 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and after that it keeps going with th. We get to 30, so 30th, 31st, 32nd, 33rd, and finally 40th, 50th, 60th, and 70th, and so on. Fractions also use ordinal numbers. Not all of them. Here's how it works. So let's go with the basic ones first. So half, that's good. A quarter, that's okay. 3/4 is okay as well. But now let's use ordinal numbers. A third or 1/3. 2/3. A fifth or 1/5. A tenth or 1/10. There you have it. They also use ordinal numbers. But there's another way that you can read these fractions. You can say 1 out of 2. Instead of saying half, you can say 1 out of 2 or 1 in 2. The next one, a third, you could say 1 out of 3 or 1 in 3. 2/3, 2 out of 3. A quarter, 1 out of 4, 1 in 4. 3/4, 3 out of 4. A fifth, 1 out of 5 or 1 in 5. And finally, a tenth, 1 out of 10 or 1 in 10. Another important use for ordinal numbers is in dates. So for example, how would you say this date right here? Can you guess? I'm gonna write it in a simpler way right here. Are you ready? So we would say December 12th, 2023. So you see the year, we separate it into 20 and 23. So we cut it in half for the year, but you could of course say 2023. No problem with this. How would you say this date? Ready? January 1st, 2002. 2002. We don't say 22. Be careful with this because if you say 22, it sounds like 22. Okay? So we say 2002. Or you could, of course, say 2002. One more. How would you say this date? Ready? March 3rd, 2000. And the last one, how would you say it? You would say September 22nd, 2012. Or, of course, instead of 2012, you could say 2012. Addresses follow the same rule as the years in a date, okay? So do you remember how to say this year right here? We just studied it. So we separate the two numbers, okay? So we say 2012, okay? That's good, no problem. So now let's try to read an address. How would you say this address right here? With what I told you, you should be able to read it. 1290 Main Street, 1290. You wouldn't say 1290 Main Street. It sounds a little bit strange. Everybody would say 1290 Main Street. Here's another address for you to practice. How would you say this address right here? Or now maybe you're confused because you're like, there are not 4 numbers in the address. It does follow the same rule, however. So you would say 523 Elm Avenue. 523. And finally, phone numbers. They are similar to dates and addresses, but with a few twists, so you have to be careful with phone numbers. Let's start with an easy one. How would you say this phone number right here? You would say the first part, 825, and then you would split the second part. So you would say 3298. So you would say my phone number is 825-3298. But phone numbers often have other numbers. For example, how would you say this number? So you would say area code 347. And then you would go the same way as we did before, 855-7030. So altogether, area code 347, 855-7030. And here's an even more difficult phone number. How would you say it? Start with 1. That's something we call the country code. Country code 1, and then area code 808, 420, 2240. So altogether, country code 1, area code 808 420 2240. It's time to test yourself. Now try to read the number without hesitation. Let's go. What is this number? I'm giving you a little bit of time. You ready? Let's go. 7,600,500. Did you get it right? I hope so. You get 1 point if you did. Can you read these fractions? First one, 2/3. Second one, half. Last one, 3/4. Can you read this full number? Oh, it's a difficult one. Let's go together. Country code 81, area code 903, 4013, 1730. How much did you pay for your laptop? You can say $650, but you can also say $650. How much did you pay for that vanilla latte frappuccino? You can say $6.50, or you can say $6.50. How much money does the government waste each year? That's the number. How much is that? You can say $9,500,000,000, or what's another way to say it? Do you remember? You can say $9.5 billion. What is your date of birth? Ready? January 14th, 1990. Good job, guys! And here are 2 extra questions. What is your phone number and what is your address? Of course, don't tell me that, but you should practice at home and you should practice saying your own phone number and your own address. It's very important to be able to say it and to say it fast. Great job, and I will see you in our next video. Bye-bye!